Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk Special Economic Zones. I'm your host, Ainsley Brown. And in today's episode, we're going to explore the concept of having good customs administration being critical to the success of special economic zones. So, zones, whatever you want to call them, free zones, free trade zones, enterprise zones, foreign trade zones, they carry many names, but it's the same thing. It is a designated area that a government has designated by some law, some decree, that businesses can operate in, and they get typically special incentives, whether tax breaks or, for example, duty free, which is very pertinent to the discussion we're going to have right now. Duty free of raw materials coming in and goods coming in that's consigned to the zone. Now, because of that, good customs administration is critical to the success of any zone regime. Whether you're looking at it from a policy perspective and a policy design, or you're looking at it from an investment perspective or investment attraction perspective. So, if you're charged with going out and getting from a export or investment promotion agency perspective, folks to come in to invest, that area, the ease and speed of customs operations, in relation to zones is critical to its attractiveness and competitiveness. If you are an investor, on the other hand, that ease and speed of doing operations or doing business with the customs authority will be a factor. And in some instances, especially if you are in certain types of businesses, is going to be a major factor in whether or not you invest in a zone or in a country, and so forth. So there has traditionally been a bit of a tension between zones and customs authorities, largely because zones are almost seen as something abnormal or unusual for customs authority because it reduces some of their authority, right? Zones reduce some of their authority. So, for example, typically, as customs authorities charged with three things. One, border protection, right? Border protection. Things coming in and out in terms of illegal guns and drugs and all of that stuff. They're charged with that. Second, they are charged with revenue collection. And funnily enough, the first police force in the UK was actually the customs folks, and they were charged with collecting the king's revenues, right? So that even predated the Metropolitan Police in the UK there. And third, trade facilitation. They facilitate trade, and they all three of those overlap in this wonderful mix of what we call customs administration, right? And a zone now kind of diminishes that. It diminishes the revenue collection, the tax collection part. They don't collect the duties because duties, generally speaking, are not due because they're in a zone. So the customs authorities typically don't like that. In terms of their jurisdiction now, in terms of border protection, the zone is, and this is a little interesting thing that sometimes people get confused. And sometimes people mistakenly will say that the zone is foreign territory. No, it is not. It is absolutely not. It's still the same territory. It's just that how you administer customs differs. So if it were foreign territory, why would there be a piece of legislation that governs it in your domestic territory, right? That doesn't make any sense. And if it were foreign territory, why is it that you have the power to impose and say, hey, you get zero corporate income tax or a reduced corporate income tax, let's say 10%, right, from the normals. Because if it was a foreign jurisdiction, you would not be able to do that, right? Because it's a foreign country. So it's not a foreign territory. It's just that the customs and even tax authorities' application of regular rules is altered. I wouldn't even say suspended, it's altered, right? Because even the no duties off or no duties on items, there's a caveat to that. One, the biggest caveat is provided the goods remain inside the zone. If you were to bring them into the domestic territory, duties may become applicable, right? Very much applicable. So for the most part, this tension has led in some jurisdictions where they've removed the customs authority altogether, the regular customs authority, and the zone has its own customs authority that focuses on zone operations and things moving in and out, right? In other jurisdictions, so an example of that is in Panama, right? In other jurisdictions, you may have the zone actually being operated or governed, I should say, not operated, but governed by the customs authority. So there's no special economic zone authority, just the customs authority. Bahamas, for example, that's the model that they've used, right? So even with that tension, you still need that ease and speed of operations, things moving in and out as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, because you have to balance, and it's a very delicate balance between those three things: revenue collection, right? Border protection. It's important to keep the population safe from certain things, and trade facilitation. But the three have to work together. Or else the zones won't work. Even if your zones are service oriented, those service oriented bodies, those service oriented occupants or operators within the zone still need physical goods. So they're going to need computers, they're going to need desk chairs, etc. And those physical goods will be coming through the port. So therefore, the customs authorities will be involved. And how quickly those things can move in, right, and move back out will help to determine the success of your zone. So if you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see me do a particular episode or a particular topic, just leave me a comment down below and I'll get right back to you. Bye for now.